Now it's Boomer Life. Lifestyle ideas designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life with Stirling Fox.
Well, good evening and welcome to Boomer Life here on AM 650. And tonight, this episode of Boomer Life is The Boat Show. It's always fun to talk to the folks from Boating BC. And we have a delegation of two in studio with us today. Paul Mendham is with Navis Marine Insurance and the West Vancouver Yacht Club. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Stirling.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And also in studio with us is Tina Moberg-Parker. Tina is the Executive Director of the BC Sailing Association. Hello to you.
Hi, Stirling.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Boating BC, the group that you're representing here, and then we'll talk about your individual contributions to boating in our province. Why don't we start off with you, Paul? You're on the board of Boating BC. How long have you been part of that?
This is starting my second term on the board. Boating BC, formerly BC Marine Trades Association, is a group of commercial marine businesses that have a like-minded passion for trying to grow boating in British Columbia.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to a lot of people, Boating BC also owns the Vancouver International Boat Show, which is one of our biggest events that we run every year.
For sure.
We're already starting planning for that event for this coming year. It's a great community of sort of passionate boaters who look to develop the future of boating. Really, that's what our focus is.
So it's basically an industry association.
It is an industry
right?
association.
So
correct.
as now, because you're in the marine insurance business, you insure boats and boaters.
Exactly.
So obviously you're part of the deal then, right?
Yep, exactly.
So now, how about an individual boater, a person who just owns a pleasure craft and keeps it moored somewhere local, and how do they connect with Boating BC aside from going to the boat show every year?
They really connect to us probably through the trades that they work with.
Okay.
More than themselves as individuals looking to connect with Boating BC. We're supporting those people who sell boats, those people who service boats, those people who import boats, the sail makers, the canvas makers, the person who's selling them equipment for their boat. We're that group that they're interfacing with everything to do with their passion of boating as an individual. When they're looking to use their boat, parts of their buying fuel, for example, people that are selling fuel are going to be members of the Boating BC Association.
Of course, okay.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the Boating BC slogan is because BC is better on a boat. And we're going to talk about the fact that it's Boating BC, not just Boating Greater Vancouver. This is a provincial thing, and there's a lot going on in our province that perhaps those of us down here on the coast are unaware of, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Tina Moberg-Parker, Executive Director of the BC Sailing Association. Now, are you an affiliate member of Boating BC, or you're not on the board, but you're the director of the entire provincial sailing program?
That's right. No, we're a member of Boating BC. BC Sailing is the provincial body that runs programs helping clubs and schools, all the yacht clubs and all the sailing schools, run programs for learn-to programs within their clubs.
Okay.
So we train instructors, we help schools and clubs develop new programs that are beneficial for their members. We run racing circuits for every level of sailor. We support BC Games. We also run high performance. We support athletes going to national and international and Olympic events.
Okay.
So we are on the and also we do a lot of training of boat safety. We have a boat safety course. We have safety at sea courses. So we help people become comfortable on the water, and we support clubs and schools in that aspect of their business.
And that's a big part, Paul, too, of Boating BC as an association province-wide, is the education component, correct?
Correct, and one that's probably we're spending more focus on. Boating BC is really going through a bit of a metamorphosis right now. We used to be a trade association, a group of industry sectors that got together and shared information about our individual sectors.
As the Marine Trades Association.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
We changed our name last year to Boating BC
Right.
because we realized we have an ability to advocate on behalf of boaters, advocate on behalf of industry segments. You know, if the charter industry, for example, is having an issue, we can get in and advocate because we can bring the voice of all of the boaters of British Columbia together.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why, you know, a group like BC Sailing Association has joined us, because we can help them with some of their programs. We can help connect them through our associations, for example, in other small cities. We might be able to bring in an expert to help Boating BC and BC Sail come together with an initiative in one small area.
Now, we can talk about some of those initiatives in places like Nelson and unexpected Fort St. James, for crying out loud. They're going boat crazy up there.
You bet.
It's mid-June. Let's talk about the requirements for every boater, not only here in British Columbia, but every boater in Canada this summer, not the first time either, but what are the minimum requirements, Paul, for every boater in Canada who's going to go out on the water, regardless of location?
You have to now have what they call a PCOC card, a Pleasure Craft Operator Proficiency card.
A boat license.
A boat license. A mandatory boat license. Not difficult to obtain. You can obtain them at a lot of the boat shows. There's people doing the courses. You can obtain them through Canadian Power Squadron. You could obtain them through BC Sailing. Some of the yacht clubs will run programs for members who don't have them. And again, that's another connection where BC Sailing's instructors would come in and teach those PCOC courses.
Okay.
If your boat's large enough, you have to have a restricted marine radio operator's license. And your boat has to have all of the proper safety equipment on board.
So even if you're going out with your pals and you're 12 and you're going to find some bass out there on the lake, you've got to have a boat license. Whoever's going to drive that thing's got to have a boat license, right?
If the boat is powered, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there a minimum age attached to all of this?
The youngest you can take the license is 8 years of
Okay.
age, but it's not that easy for an 8-year-old.
Of course.
There's a lot of reading. So I would recommend you be older than 8, because the information is so valuable that if you're just going to memorize it and not understand it,
Right.
it's not benefit for you when you're in a situation where you need to use the information.
Right.
So I would recommend the kids or anybody being 12 and over to be able to grasp the concepts to save your life eventually.
And this can be
Could
done
be happening.
online too. I mean, I would imagine it would be better for everyone involved if you could take a course from someone who could actually teach you. But if you don't have access to that person, you can go online and do it right there.
Correct. Yeah, they've really made this process as simple as they can. It's about education. So much of the exam is about boating safety, breaking down some of the important rules of the road. It's very simple messaging to learn. It's not difficult. It's not like obtaining a pilot's license or even, I would say, as hard as getting your driver's license. It is the fundamentals to make boating safe. That's really what this is about.
And tragically, of course, this summer, along with every other summer before it, we're going to read stories in the newspapers and see them on TV of boating accidents. And in many cases, the tagline will be with, nobody had brought a life jacket with them or a flotation device. Alcohol was involved. It was after dark. Nobody could see where they were. All of these things that you learn when you take your boating license, that course, all of these things are as plain as the nose on your face, common sense-wise, but now that you've taken the course and you've got the license, it really does reduce your excuse for poor behavior, doesn't it?
And you should review it every year and make sure your life jackets are safe and that they don't have any rips and that you wear them. The life jackets these days are so cool, so comfortable. You don't even know you're wearing one. And every time I go in the water, I feel strange, but it's like wearing a seatbelt. You just wear your life jacket. They're cool colors. They are child sizes. They're bright. There's no excuse for not wearing a life jacket.
Okay, now if you're sorry, Paul.
I just say, I've raced on sailboats for a long time. We race Wednesday nights. We go out, every week from the end of April to the end of September, and everybody on the boat I race on wears the life jacket.
Right.
We're with 30 other boats. There's boats that could pick anybody up immediately.
Right.
We, as Tina just said, it's like your seatbelt. We always wear it. You could be hit in the head, fall off the boat, fall the wrong way, bang your head. And if you don't have some way to float, you're going to be in trouble.
Right.
And unfortunately, that is the statistic. The statistic is more people are rescued in life jackets than those that don't wear life jackets.
Right. Now, you're both sailors. How many times, now be honest with me here, how many times do you go out for a little spin and get into a situation where you're becalmed or whatever, and you have to get a tow? Somebody in a powerboat comes by and says, well, you got some problems there? Can we throw you a line? Does that happen, Tina?
I can't remember breaking down. I remember breaking the gear shift when I was in labor with my first child on the water.
Oh, my.
And I had to back up. It was about an hour back up. That was the one time I broke down, but I made it back to shore. But, we check to make sure we have enough fuel.
Mm-hmm.
We always have a radio and a cell phone with us. There's always boats around. We know where to call in case we need help. And through years of experience, you could hit a line that's just floating in the water and wrapped around your propeller,
mm-hmm.
and you know how to do it because you always have a knife with you.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's the community of boaters helping each other out. So I feel very safe
exactly
on the water.
Yeah, and that's true because, Paul, you were saying, even when you're out with sailing with the gang competitively, there are people just along for the ride. And if somebody's in trouble, bingo, you've got a helper right there.
You bet. Last year I was coming home and ended up towing a powerboat who'd run out of gas, and I picked up the call on the radio and offered to go tow them and towed them to the closest fuel dock.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of boating.
Right.
That we are a big community helping each other out. It's a fundamental rule of being on the water is you have to be there to help others.
Right.
Even in racing, when you're racing and somebody gets in trouble, you have to stop racing and help them out. That's in our first rule of sailing.
Oh, is that right?
So it's about being helpful and making sure everybody's safe at all times.
Let me take a minute with Tina here for a second, folks. First of all, the accent, all I got was Northern European, so I was on the right track. It's Norwegian.
That's right.
You grew up in Norway. You started sailing when you were what, 5 or
6?
6, okay. Since you started sailing in the fjords at age 6, you've come to Canada at age what?
At 18.
18. You have represented both Norway and Canada at international sailing competitions, and you've represented this country at the Olympics as a sailor. What was your category or boat size at the Olympics?
I sailed a single-handed women's class at the Olympics in '96, and for Canada, my brother sailed for Norway.
Interesting.
In the same category
Gee,
for men.
Christmas dinner must have been a lot of fun that year.
It was fun. It was. We did it as a family. It was what connected us.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up racing, just the two of us against each other, because when there's 2 kids, boy, girl, close in age, you compete.
Everything's a contest.
It's all about beating your brother, and that's the reason why I got better and the reason why he got better, to beat me up on the water. So, and we did it as a family. Our parents traveled with us because in sailing, you got to bring your boats.
Oh, yes.
So you don't have a license for a long time. So we did it together, and that was a lot of fun. And now both my brother and I have kids, and all of them sail for fun. And we go to the cottage now, and they play around all the time, and they feel safe and they love it.
At what age do children in British Columbia have the opportunity to go to a formal Learn to Sail program? How young can they be?
Almost all the schools and clubs are now offering it's called Wet Feet program for 5-year-olds.
Wow.
5 to 7 is kind of the big catching group, and they sail for half a day. They learn to tow. They are become so comfortable on the water. A 5-year-old, we have a 6-year-old now who's sailing every Tuesday night, and he's sailing by himself back and forth. And they learn so quickly when they're that young.
You said they learn to tow. What is tow?
So they're hooked onto the coach boat, and they learn to steer.
Oh, I see. So they're under somebody else's power, and they're just learning how to direct the boat.
And that's the first day. Second day they get to sail up, and they're sailing back and forth, tack and jibe, and they can now leave the dock and come back, and they're having a blast. And they get to be in full control of a boat.
And what size boat would these little guys go out in?
These are called Optimists, and they're 7 foot 7-inch long, and they're square rigged and have a flat bow. And they have a big rudder, so they can steer and they can get themselves to where they want to go. And the kids feel so empowered. and they learn so quickly. And then, you know, we have people learning to cruise when they're 30, 40, 50, 60.
Mm-hmm.
So some people learn when they're 5, some people learn when they're 60 in a Learn to Cruise program at any of the schools or clubs.
And
So-
Paul, you started when you were about 12, right, as a sailor?
Yeah, correct. I was one of those kids that went into sailing school. I think my parents were probably looking for an activity for me, and I loved being around the water.
I went to canoe school in Ontario for exactly the same reason. We can't have him sitting around for the entire month of July. Let's get him into something.
Exactly.
I ended up in the Mississauga Canoe Club. You ended up in the West Vancouver Yacht Club.
Exactly.
There you go.
And it really became part of my life. You know, I did the junior race team program, and that led into keelboat sailing, and that led into me crewing on people's boats and starting to do bigger and longer races, and to the point where I decided to buy my own boat. And yeah, sailing is one of those definite life sports. There's no question.
I'm jumping around a little bit because I'm getting the signal from Dwayne that we need to take a break. But very quickly, just before the break, not put on your insurance guy's hat for a second.
Certainly.
Typically, is it more expensive to insure a powerboat than a sailboat, or are they about the same?
No, power boats are more expensive to insure than sailboats.
Just because they got a bigger motors?
They have, this is, a lot of powerboaters are going to get mad at me, but I'm going to say it. It's easier to become a powerboater than it is to become a sailor. Sailors typically invest in their activity. You can't just get onto a sailboat, turn the key, and go.
Which you can with a powerboat.
You bet.
You may have trouble parking it when you come back,
Yep.
but you can turn the key on, put it in literally boat drive, and see ya.
Correct. The other thing is, from a speed perspective, we have more issues with boats going faster than we do with sailboats, which if they hit something, they hit it at a slower speed versus a powerboat that hits it and does more damage.
So the risk factor is simply greater.
Exactly.
Interesting stuff. Our guests from Boating BC, Paul Mendham and Tina Moberg-Parker, and we're just getting warmed up here on Boomer Life on AM 650, and we're back right after this quick timeout.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on AM 650.